Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to be sitting right across from Miss Faith Armstrong. She's one, a speaker, two, a community builder. She is a part of her brand is so wrapped in her faith, and so I absolutely love this, and we're going to get into this today. But she's a community builder through Fueled by Faith and Co-Creators and Masters of Organizational Leadership, which I love this because anytime anybody has organizational leadership in their title, I'm like, yes, we need to talk about organization. But Faith, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself a little further.
Yeah, I just admire what you do, Daniel.
Thank you.
Honestly, we were
Thank
talking
you.
about this before the podcast,
Yeah.
and I think it's really inspiring to
Thank
see
you.
someone with such a heart for learning
Thank you.
from
Yeah.
people and have that learner spirit. So I'm excited to get into
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited to have you here. I first want to jump into just first of all, why go out? Why go create your own brand and so wrapped up in faith? That's been a part of your life for a long time.
Yeah.
But why go and off and create your own brand of sorts?
The Lord like really stirred this kind of inkling in me to do something for him and for others in
Yeah.
college.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what that looked like. I got a degree in psychology
Okay.
and I was planning to be a Christian counselor, actually.
Oh, wow.
And then I took a counseling course and I was like, oh, not quite,
Yeah.
almost there. I do love people and I really have this heart for service.
Okay.
But I didn't know exactly what that looked like until he led me to the coaching sphere.
Okay.
And I had this fear, honestly,
Yeah.
of what would people think? How would I come across?
Yeah.
And the Lord worked in me for about a year, stirring up boldness in me and
Okay.
courage. And as I graduated, I launched my coaching business
Yeah.
right out of school. And that's what I've been doing for the past few years is coaching one-on-one clients.
Nice.
And during that time, I was getting my master's in organizational leadership. And while I've been learning a lot and understanding my unique gifts
Yeah.
and talents, it's been cool to now see what I really love also is seeing the impact of people together
Yeah.
and community building.
Yeah.
And I really do think healing happens in community.
Yeah.
And then speaking is something that he's laid on
Yeah.
my heart recently to then share about his goodness and the reason why we can create
Yeah.
and live loved
Yeah.
and really be on mission and
Yeah.
act in accordance to that out of like security of who we are
Yep.
in him. So that's been the current, I guess,
Yeah.
update of what I'm up to
Very
is
cool.
community building through my in-person community
Yeah.
called Fueled by Faith here in Raleigh, North Carolina,
Yeah.
and then the virtual community called Co-Creators
Nice.
that helps Christian solopreneurs build their businesses alongside of each other.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Now, side note, I saw your speaker reel, your scissor. Did your husband do
he
that?
did.
I was like, this is fantastic.
Yes, he did.
I was like, this is a great speaker. Like you see so many of those now, like people put them out there. It's like for a lot of speakers, it's a portfolio of
Yeah.
sorts and like introduction. So whenever you see it, you're kind of like, okay, how did someone do this differently or what is,
Hmm.
but I saw yours and I was like, this is great. And so
I gotta give
when your
credit to him.
when your husband, when you
Yeah.
said your husband was doing video, I was like, this makes sense now. I was like, this makes a lot of sense.
He helps me a lot on that side, which I appreciate so much.
I
It's
love
good.
it.
It's
Anytime
good.
you can get a little help with that stuff, you're like,
Yeah.
honey, please take this off my
Yeah.
plate so I can see.
Yeah, and I think that's such a beautiful thing, right? Of like he has strengths that I don't have and vice versa.
Yeah.
And how can we help
Partnership.
each other? That partnership
Yeah.
is so beautiful. And we
Yes.
just got married 4 months ago. So it's
Love
been
that.
fun to like now being married,
Yeah.
see and really work together.
Yeah.
And he helps me on the tech side with
Yeah.
co-creators so much. Like he is a genius and that's been so helpful.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to just hop into speaking real quick
Yeah.
because speaking is a daunting thing for a lot of people.
Mm.
Were you always confident speaker? How did, okay,
No.
you're shaking the head. How did you become, why just go into speaking if you were not comfortable to begin with?
When I was in college, I was the girl that would try to miss class anytime that it was like my turn to
Yes.
speak. I really had so much anxiety
Yeah.
around speaking. And I was a competitive tennis player. I actually played tennis in college, and I loved the fact that the Lord like actually put me in a place, my first job after school
Yeah.
to grow me in the area that I was scared of most.
Okay.
It's like I feel like I can do anything
Yeah.
but speak. And that was my first job when I was doing my master's was at Dale Carnegie Training.
Okay.
And they help people become world-class speakers.
Yeah.
That is their thing.
Yeah.
And so I got this job. And I remember 2 weeks in, I was like, okay, they're gonna require me to speak
They're gonna
here.
make me get up in front of all these
Yeah,
people.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it was a bit terrifying at first. And I knew that this was the thing
Yeah.
that I needed.
Yeah.
As much as I hated it, I was
Yeah.
like, this is the thing that's really going to be fruitful if
Yeah.
I can master it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Lord's calling me to it. So I kept going. Well, if I didn't, I would probably lose my job, right?
Yes.
If I didn't
Yeah.
speak. So then 2 years after, I just feel like I'm able to now go in
Yeah.
front of a crowd and have an impactful
Yeah.
time, really speak to the hearts of people and
Yeah.
focus on the people
Okay.
more so. And that was the biggest mind shift
Yeah.
for me that has propelled me to be able to do that.
Okay.
Is one, growing in my confidence and just who I am.
Yeah.
But second, being others focused and focusing on what's really going to help them.
Yeah.
What's really going to hit in
Yeah.
the audience, not focusing on myself of
Right.
how am I appearing right now?
Yeah.
What do they think about me? And being so
Yes.
self-focused, but instead flipping it
Yeah.
and focusing on them because then the nerves
Yeah.
just go away,
Yeah.
right? And if we really want to be impactful as speakers,
Yeah.
we need to focus on the people that we're serving
Absolutely.
and speaking to anyway. So that's been the biggest learning out of all of it.
Are you when you're on stage, are you a pacer or do you stand in one place? What kind of speaker are you?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say I start just standing.
Yes.
And then as I get more comfortable and you're in your groove,
Yeah.
you start with purposeful movement going to one place
Yes.
and then another. And I
One
love
corner to the next.
exactly
Yes.
interaction and making it something where people are experiencing
Yeah.
and even workshop. I love facilitating
Yeah.
more so. And I can do keynotes. I'm doing a keynote next month at my alma mater.
Very cool.
Actually, but that's going to be
cool.
super fun and it's leadership driven,
Yeah.
right? I have experience in leadership.
Yeah.
And then I'm also doing a keynote the same day.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a little bit of both there, but the impact is different.
Yeah.
I think when there is more interaction within the speaking engagement. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I am I black out. I'm like, I can get up and do it, but I can't promise you I'm gonna remember what I say when I come off stage. I'm like
I was the same way. I was exactly the same way.
but everybody's like, you did great. And I'm like, fantastic. I'm so glad it went well.
I don't remember it.
I don't remember a thing. But thank you so much. They were like, yeah, you did. I'm like,
My work here is done.
my work here's done. I can walk off and not sweat this any longer. But I think it's a very daunting task. But there are so many, like, you have the old tips and tricks when you're growing up, like speak in front of a mirror and watch
Right.
yourself do it, or all these different things. Please don't imagine people in the audience naked. It doesn't actually work.
Nope.
It does.
Please don't do that.
Depending on the audience, it just makes things even weirder or worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I'm so glad you were able to feel more comfortable and face your fears that way. I think it's so hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't think a lot of people are like, no, that's a fear of theirs until they get up and they're like,
Right. And exposure therapy is the biggest thing too. It's almost like just being put in that
Yes.
situation. Like
Yes.
I give so much credit to Dale Carnegie for giving me
Love that.
opportunity after opportunity to just be in it
yeah,
and learn as you
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
of what's working, what's not. And over time, as you're just exposed to it,
yeah,
it becomes more fruitful,
absolutely.
right? As you learn. And with the amazing coaching there,
Yeah.
it's so helpful. But the fear of judgment is so real from
Oh my
people. Like the
gosh.
fear of people's opinions is incredibly loud.
Yeah,
And so for me, what's really helpful is to remember that my value cannot be taken away
Yeah.
or added based on anyone's opinion
Yeah.
of me because it is constant, right?
Yeah.
It is set by the creator of the universe. I
Yeah.
was created,
Yeah.
with eternal value that
Yep.
cannot be taken away based on any other human's opinion
Absolutely.
of me. So when I stand in that security, it's like anything's possible
Yeah.
with him. And that's just so cool to me that
Absolutely.
we have that available to us
Yeah.
and that we can live in that. And so as I grew closer to him, especially in college, I grew a lot of my faith in college,
Okay.
the more that I became confident in who I was
Yeah.
because I knew him more. And it's like,
Yeah.
then I really know myself
Yeah.
and how loved I am. And so my mission is to help people realize their value,
Yeah.
that eternal value, and to live loved,
Yeah.
live in the abundance of love that is constant and never
Absolutely.
changing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you introduced it in the beginning. You've got one like in-person group that your community that you're working with, and then
Yeah.
you've got co-creators. I do want to dip our toes in co-creators because I love the solopreneurs and the entrepreneurs there in that
Yeah.
category. First off, how did co-creators come to be? How did this concept
Yes.
evolve into what it is today, into this
Sure.
full-blown online community?
So I, over the past few years of being a coach, felt like I was on an island. I
Okay.
felt like
Yeah.
I see all these people on social media
Yes.
and I don't know what they're doing in the day to day. There's really no
Yeah.
relationship. I just like their post or maybe
Yeah.
comment and connect with them occasionally.
Yeah.
But what if I created, because I didn't really see it. So I was like, what if I created a space for people that were early on in business,
Yeah.
those that 0 to 5 years in business that were looking to grow with others and be
Yeah.
in community because we're creative for community, we're relational beings.
Yep.
And specifically women, when we have the encouragement of other women
Yeah.
that have shared values, that we're going through this hard thing called
Yes.
solopreneurship together, right? Especially when we don't have employees
Yeah.
yet, we don't have a team,
Yep. One woman shows.
we're one woman
Yeah.
shows. How do we then work together and help each other and
Yeah.
collaborate and really do this thing in community? And so that's what I was on mission to do because I didn't see it. So I was like, well, if you don't see it, then create it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And when Thomas and I got married in April, I made the shift to go into full-time solopreneurship and
Okay.
start creating this. So this
Love
has
it.
been over 4 months now
Okay.
that we've been building this. And
Yeah.
it's cool to see now a lot of women in the virtual studios,
Yeah.
co-working. It's service
Yeah.
focused. So in there, we look at each other's strengths and we look at each other's needs
Okay.
and we pair people up based on who can help
I
who
love that.
for the first period. And then we work on our own
Okay.
business second. And it's so cool because then you get referrals, you get people
Yeah.
looking at your website, you get people looking at your messaging or brainstorming
Yes.
ideas with you to
An
how
extra set of
to
hands.
exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's been really fruitful
Yeah.
for the people that are in it. And we're always looking to see what's more valuable,
Yeah.
right? How can we continue to evolve and add as much value as possible
Yeah.
so that we can create and be on mission for what we're called to?
I love that. I love any chance to bring people together in that sense, especially in the entrepreneurship world. I think um, we hear about it, but sometimes it's hard
Yeah.
for people to kind of find people to talk to, people to pass ideas through, all of these things because
Yes.
it's such an interesting world to be in entrepreneurship.
It is. And there's this saying that I think is like pretty cheesy, right? It's talking about like collaboration over competition. And I know
Yeah.
that those buzzwords go out a lot.
Yeah.
And there is some truth to that, right? Because if we can be others focused and how can we partner with each other so that
Yeah.
it's mutually beneficial so that we can both grow and impact for the kingdom, in our case with co-creators,
Yeah.
but just in general, I mean, the more that we can do together, the farther that we'll go.
Yeah.
It is so true that when we can strengthen bonds, we
Yeah.
have more fun while we're
Absolutely.
doing it.
Yes.
There is greater impact.
Yeah.
You potentially double, triple your audience reach by partnering with someone,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know why people wouldn't want to do that,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly. So that's what we're on mission to do.
I love it. And I love the different kind of tasks that you have to be able
Hmm.
to ask, like to be able to have people help each other too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think in entrepreneurship, we sometimes don't like to ask for help, but it's sometimes the biggest question that needs to be, especially when you are a one person show. Like
Yeah.
it is a very hard thing to finally swallow that pill and say, hey,
Hmm.
I need help over here
Hmm.
with something, and you
Hmm.
have the expertise to be able to help me with it.
Yes. And that takes humble hearts.
Yes.
That
Yes.
takes humility to be able
Yeah.
to do that. And it's peer-to-peer support in
Yeah.
these groups. So we're all 0 to 5 years
Yeah.
into business. There is this sense of like, okay, we're in a similar stage,
Yes.
right? But we have different giftings,
Yeah.
different skill sets that whenever we pair
Yeah.
together can be very helpful.
Absolutely.
So how do we then bridge this gap of getting people into it,
Yeah.
right? How do we make it that it's a safe place, that there's belonging
Yeah.
there, that there's this sense of service? And so the culture that we're trying to create is really others focused.
Okay.
And when we do that, I think there will be a lot of benefit
Yep.
to it.
Yep.
So we're starting out that
I
way.
love it. I love it. Are there goals that you're trying to hit in terms of how many creators that you have in this community? Like
Yes.
what are your milestones you're trying to hit with co-creators?
Yes. So currently we're launching another Faith in Action group in a
Okay.
few weeks. That'll be our fifth group.
Okay.
And we've been doing Faith in Action for a year. It's just a weekly 30-minute meeting of high
Okay.
intensity impact. It's
Okay.
our free tier that has now been like integrated into
I
co-creators.
love that.
And it's so cool that I've been building this over the past year, just didn't think
Yeah.
anything would really come of it,
Yeah.
but the Lord gave me this vision for it to be implemented into co-creators
Co-creators.
so people can come in and experience that for free for however long they want to. And
Okay.
it's a small gist of what you'll receive in the studios.
Okay.
So the Faith in Action is a 30-minute community and accountability meeting
Yeah.
where you do a devotional and set 1 to 3 commitments for the week that the group holds you accountable
Yeah.
to. For it could be spiritual disciplines, it could be health and fitness related
Okay.
or entrepreneurship
Yeah.
related, whatever you feel like called to do.
Yep.
And you get a small slice of cake, in an
Nice.
instance of taste of what it would be like
Yeah.
for in the studios.
Okay.
And then that's the pro version
Okay.
is the studio time, which we have 3 studios running right now.
Okay.
Our goal is to get by 10 by
Okay.
the end of the year. And then our premium tier is called the Creator Circle. And that's for the really dedicated
Yeah.
group of women that has a weekly mastermind
Okay.
and a directory on the website and just more resources
Yeah.
and greater collaboration opportunities.
I love that.
So ultimately, the goal is to have 100 creators by June 1st of next year
Okay.
in the platform on paid membership subscription. It's a
Okay.
subscription model.
Yeah.
And then we also have studio hosts and Faith in
Yeah.
Action group leaders, right? How can we partner with people to lead
Yeah.
other studios and groups and growing that and just partnership in general?
Yep.
An opportunity that we could have coming up. I was just talking to someone yesterday about this is to partner with a certification school, like a life coaching certification school, for instance, and get the alumni to continue to create together
Yeah.
in a virtual co-working space that is hosted just for them
Yeah.
to continue their call after certifications. So,
Okay.
and more partnerships of different
Yeah.
areas like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anytime I see someone who is a one woman show or anything like that, I'm like, I want to give someone a high five or a hug. I'm like, I feel you. I understand you. I get
Yeah.
it. Because it is an interesting world. So I think anytime that you can jump into a group like this
Yeah.
or something else that calls to you, like it's impactful, it's important because you just need those people sometimes to lean on
Yes.
even on your hardest days. Like it is extremely important.
Absolutely. In the mastermind, it's really cool to each bring a challenge that we're having. And because
Interesting.
it's peer-to-peer support, we
Yeah.
lead with questions. So instead of advice giving, it's question
Okay.
oriented to help the group solve the problems together or
Interesting.
challenges. And so you see women come in with some really hard things.
Yeah.
It's even work and life related
Okay.
together. You know, how do I balance as a mother,
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom who's trying to build this business? How
Yeah.
do I balance my kids
Yeah.
and my business, right?
Yeah.
Tough stuff that
Yes.
women are trying to navigate
Yeah.
as they're doing this. And so
Absolutely.
having a community that has experience to share and questions to ask that will help them decide on how to spend their time
Yep.
and what to devote and prioritize is just really cool
Yep.
to see.
Now, on the flip side of the virtual and the not here in Raleigh community, you've
Uh-huh.
got your in person. How did you become to be first in the seat that you're actually holding? But how did you become to be involved with this group?
Such a divine connection. Actually, social media does wonders. Right? But I met
Yes.
M, the founder of Fuel by Faith, on
Okay.
social media, and the home location of it, I guess, is in Wilmington. And
Okay.
then she has different chapters across the US.
Yep.
And we got connected, just started talking, and we thought, let's do a partnership.
Yeah.
So I'm leading the Raleigh chapter, being her
Yeah.
Raleigh commissioner,
Yeah.
and she's being one of my Faith in Action group leaders.
Okay.
And it is so cool to see how she wanted to build a virtual community to connect all of her chapters
Yes.
together and have a structure for it. And so I got to serve her in that way.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to build an in-person community
I love it.
that she was able to help
Yeah.
serve me in. So it was just so
I
amazing
love that.
how it worked out the way that it did.
Now,
But
what is it that you're doing with this group here in Raleigh that is
yeah.
different from what you are doing in the virtual community?
So Fueled by Faith is on a mission to help women play and impact and serve.
Okay.
And we do that through different activities in our in-person
Okay.
meetups. So
Very cool.
we could serve like a nonprofit, right?
Okay.
Or go play pickleball or do a mastermind together, like
Okay.
in person, or have a speaker come in
Yeah.
from a different company
Yeah.
to share insights. So
Very cool.
it's a mix of women who love Jesus and
Yeah.
want to have something outside of church, because church is obviously the number one community that Christians gravitate towards to learn about God and to build friendships with godly community.
Yeah.
And this is nothing like a small group that you would receive in church.
Yeah.
These are particularly women that in Raleigh area who are solopreneurs
Yeah.
or leaders and that want to actually build a different type of community,
Okay.
you know, in the midst of what all these other offerings have.
Yeah.
You know, how can we build like an in-person mission to play and serve and
I
impact?
love that. We were talking about it in the beginning. I'm going to try to ask this in the proper way. When you are faith-based and you're going out and speaking, there are a lot of people who aren't as passionate, aren't as so into religion, didn't grow up in that sphere. How do you work through with trying to not, I don't want to say shove it down people's throats, but you're not trying to chase people away. You're trying just to have people bring people in. How do you kind of deal with those people who are like, nope, we don't care to be a part of any of this, like, because we're not in, we don't have any religious base. Like, how do you deal with that kind of stuff in speaking, and then just all the things that you're a part of?
Sure. I do believe that there is a space for everyone,
Yeah.
and the space that I'm called to is just in the faith-based
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
right? And that can go for anything. Like you're gonna find your people, and
Yeah.
some people aren't for you, and that's okay
Totally.
too. I do believe that whenever we have a relationship with Jesus that is so strong, it's hard for me just personally to not talk about it
Yeah.
because my love for him is so strong. And so when I'm speaking, it's a great way to share that opportunity to
Yeah.
others that they have to know him and to know how loved they are by
Yeah.
him as well.
Yeah.
And some people don't want that,
Yeah.
and that's okay too. I just
Yeah.
did a workshop a couple weeks ago for the city of Raleigh. There was a young entrepreneurs high school camp
Oh,
that
cool.
I did a workshop for,
Yeah.
teaching them how to be entrepreneurs in
Very
a
cool.
sense. And it was incredible to see the impact that was had even by just showing
Yeah.
the love of Christ in
Yeah.
there and loving them really well, encouraging them, lifting them up. And then when I speak with faith-based
Yeah.
organizations, speaking those words with my mouth and not my, well, my actions too, but both, right,
Yeah. Yeah.
can go together.
Yeah.
And you'll just find your people, like with any speaker that is interested in growing
Yeah.
their speaker business, just knowing your niche and having that at the forefront.
Okay.
I think with whatever you choose to speak on
Yeah.
and what expertise you can bring,
Yeah.
knowing where your lane is
Yes.
and trying his best to stay in that lane
Yeah.
while also, if there's opportunities that pop up in
Yeah.
other places as well, not shying away from it, but
Yes.
continuing to be you and live in your values. And that's what I'm doing a workshop on like next month
Love it.
actually
Yeah.
at my college that I
Yeah.
went to. Was I'm speaking with the RAs, the resident assistants who
Okay.
are in leadership positions, and we're going to be going through activities of how to lead in your values,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And it's a faith-based college, so
Okay.
I speak a lot about my faith,
Yeah.
in institutions like that. And we'll see what happens when people really feel equipped
Yeah.
and ignited to lead purposefully
Yeah.
and inside their values.
I
I'm
love
I'm
it.
excited to really see the impact of that.
Now, what is your split in terms of workshops and speaking that are faith-based
Mhm.
and then just, I don't want to say normal organization, but you know what I mean? Like,
Secular,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, organizations that reach out to you.
I would say 70%, 75% are faith
Faith-based.
driven,
Okay.
and then 25% are
Okay.
not. Yeah, so I'd say that's about the split.
Nice little split.
Yeah, nice
Yeah,
little split.
nice little split there. I think it's cool that you're going into, I don't want to say new environments, but environments where it's not a topic that's talked about
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
So I think that's great opportunities for the people that you're talking to as well.
absolutely. And I think about how we often have more opportunities to evangelize,
Yeah.
right? And minister to those who don't know Jesus
Yeah.
and help to show them like what's on offer
Yeah.
to them than people that do know Jesus, right? We get to like encourage them and equip them,
Yes.
but they already know Jesus. And so how can we continue to encourage those that do
Yeah.
while share to those that don't know him?
Yeah.
And there's room for both for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Now, you've had a podcast.
I have.
What on top of everything else that you're doing did Faith go, I'm gonna start a podcast as well.
That's funny.
Why go do that?
Thoughts of Faith. It was a podcast that I started maybe a year ago.
Okay.
And I haven't recorded in a little bit on that since starting
Yeah.
a co-creators podcast. I might be opening up
Hey,
soon.
there you go.
But Thoughts of Faith was really to help people realize that their thought life determines their actions.
Yeah.
And when we can get our thought life straight and focused on the things that really matter,
Yeah.
then we will live much more abundant
Yeah.
lives. And so I love just, talking to
Yeah.
people and hearing people's stories, just like you, and
Yeah.
knowing that there can be so much impact through podcasts
Yeah.
that people can listen to it and maybe something hits.
Yes.
And that's just what they needed.
Yeah.
And it's cool that the Lord can speak through me to impact people in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Co-created podcast would be
I
cool. Talking with all the
know.
different co-create. I like it. I
Exactly.
like the idea, and especially as that continues to grow. There's so much opportunity there and so many
Yeah.
wonderful people you have walking in the door that it'd be really cool to hear from every single one of
So
them.
too. I think
Face,
so too.
face like I got an idea. I got to go take care of it.
All right. Take action on it. I'm all
Can
about
we write
action.
this down real quick.
Love it.
I did want to I love getting to scroll through people's social media and see what topics you're talking about as well. And one of your most recent ones is a book recommendation that you actually had for everybody. And it's the importance of powerful question asking, which is in this realm something I'm so interested in because I'm like,
Yeah.
how do we get into things? How do we dig deeper? How do we not sound redundant, but also keep everybody, the audience engaged,
Yes.
as well as the guest?
Yes.
Just very high level, like importance of powerful question asking. What
Sure.
have you learned so far there
Sure.
on that journey and that learning?
Particularly with asking questions, the deeper that we can go
Yeah.
with people, the more effective
Yeah.
it is. And sometimes people feel like they need a certain amount of relationship
Yeah.
to go deep with people. And that might be true.
Yeah.
And we can also ask questions that form deeper relationships quicker.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just kind of waiting for time to pass
Yeah.
for those relationships to form. If we ask questions that really get to people's values, for instance, and what makes them tick
Yes.
and what makes them get out of bed
Yeah.
in the morning. And particularly like that book, also Leading with Questions by Bob Tide, it talks about questions that we can ask in life and business. And in terms of business with sales conversations,
Yeah.
when we're on sales calls, getting people in a positive
Yeah.
mindset,
Yes.
right? And thinking positively is important
Yeah.
for us to end with a closed deal
Yeah.
and to have just a great impact on the person,
Yeah.
to leave them feeling like, wow, she's really great or whatever.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so asking questions in that instance that will talk,
Yeah.
in terms of their interest. And that's
Yes.
like a Dale Carnegie principle,
Yeah.
right? And figuring out what's really their happy place and get them into that mindset of what they love.
Yeah.
Then it's all psychology. I got my
Totally.
bachelor's in psychology. So I love this
Yes.
mind space and how we can ask purposeful questions to help people get into that frame of mind.
I was just about to say it's almost a science because you're
Yeah.
in so many different environments trying to figure out, and you're trying to, how do I get into this person's mind
Yeah.
and really figure out what is the best way to have a genuine connection with
Yes.
somebody?
Yes.
And so it truly is a science that you're trying to figure out and go,
Absolutely.
how do we dig in here? How do we get to this next level?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's I've had people who are like, yeah, I took a college course on it. And I'm like, where did you take a college course on it? I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how people approach asking questions.
Sure. And leading with curiosity, like
Yeah.
having that at the forefront of our minds, if we
Yeah.
can lead with curiosity and man, I wonder why they do
Yeah.
what they do and
Yes.
becoming curious
Yeah.
because this person that you're sitting across or beside is made in the image of God. And so they have so much value that you can learn from,
Yeah.
that you can seek to understand. And there might be a lot of differences,
Yeah.
but there's so many commonalities
Yeah.
too. And if we could focus on the ways that we're
Yeah.
in common,
Yes.
then it can help us bridge a deeper connection
Yeah.
as well. So whenever we're in conversation with people, if we can tie bonds
Yeah.
with similarities, right, and
Yeah.
commonalities,
Yeah.
then it'll make us feel closer
Yeah.
to one another
Yeah.
as well.
I always love to listen to other podcasts as well, because sometimes you'll hear a question, you're like, oh,
That was
what a
good.
fantastic question.
Uh-huh.
And so you're sitting there, you're like, I'm gonna jot this down really
Yeah.
quickly. But it's so interesting to be able to listen to in those venues as well, because you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I would have never thought to ask a question in that way. And I think it's all
Mm.
about how you ask the question
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like,
Yeah.
you can go in depth, but like how you phrase it can completely change the question
Oh,
and
yeah.
how it's perceived and taken.
It's almost an art.
Yes.
And
It's an art and a science.
and a science. And I think the greatest question that I have ever learned is simply this. Is there any chance?
Mm.
Is
Mm.
there any chance that you would be willing to answer a few questions?
Yeah.
Is there any chance that I could get your opinion
Yeah.
on this, right? The power of is there any chance?
Yeah.
And my father-in-law showed me this in real time.
Love that.
I think he learned this from his father. I'm not sure, but he passed it down to Thomas and I. And so we use this question in life and business.
I love it.
And we were on a family vacation and he went up to this receptionist. We had just left our Airbnb and we had a few hours until we needed to get to the airport.
Okay.
And so we just needed to hang somewhere
Yeah.
for a few hours. And we were driving and we passed this incredible resort looking
Yeah.
thing. You know, it had a big pool
Yes.
and just looked so nice.
Yeah.
And man, that would be nice to get to hang there for a few hours. And I just kind of like threw that out there as
Yeah.
like, oh, that'd be nice. And my father-in-law was like, let's go ask. And I was like, what? We didn't stay there. You know, they're not going to
Yeah.
let us use their pool.
It's like one of those questions that you're like, I can't even watch to see
No.
what the answer. It's like watching a train wreck kind of have. You're like, I can't.
No.
I can't.
And he just lives in such a world of possibility, which I
Yeah.
really admire. And so he pulled over immediately and he was like, watch this. And I was like, okay. And he gets out and he walks up to the receptionist and he goes, is there any chance that we can use the pool for a few hours? We would love to get lunch there at the pool and eat there. They had like a little, you know, lunch spot by the pool. And she was like, did you stay here? And he was like, no, we'd love to eat lunch, buy some lunch at the pool and hang here until 2:00. We had just left our Airbnb and we're not from here. You know, we just need a place to hang for a few hours. And she goes, well, I guess that would be okay if you buy lunch and you're out of here by 2:00.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, great. And then,
Oh my gosh.
and then he goes back to the car and he says, we're in, you know, and we just have so much fun, like hanging
love
at this
that.
resort, eating lunch. And I don't know what else we would have done. Maybe go to a coffee shop, which would
Yeah.
have been fine too. But instead, we got this amazing experience
That's
all
awesome.
by asking, you know, is there any chance?
Yeah. I love
Because
that.
then it starts working the brain of like people actually, they go, well, is there?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it
Fascinating.
possible?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it possible? How could it be possible?
Yeah.
Then they start thinking of ways how it could work.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's the power of questions.
Mhm.
I love the power of questions. And I think we all get asked questions every single day and we ask questions every single day, but we don't think about it
Yeah.
because it's something that's so, I don't want to say second nature, but it's something that just happens so naturally for us these days when we're in work environments and things like
Yeah.
that. But sometimes we just don't think about when we're in these special settings.
Mhm.
Oh, we can ask something a little deeper. We
Yeah.
can take this next step. We can craft this a certain way. And so it's
Exactly.
fascinating to go learn about these things.
When it's genuine and you really want to know
Yeah.
the person, because
Absolutely.
they have so much on offer,
Yeah.
that you can learn from. We can learn from anybody and we can make their day potentially
Yeah.
by our interaction.
Yeah.
And I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm curious what question you've been asked
Oh gosh.
recently that has hit for you, or a question that you've heard someone say recently.
Oh, this is gonna take me a minute. I've been on the road, so I've been like in conference mode.
Oh, okay.
Um, no, well, it's more of the we've heard of you, but we don't know what you do.
Mm.
And so I'm like, got it. What do you do?
Uh-huh.
So you have to, yeah, I was answering a bunch of those questions. I was like,
Yeah.
here's what we do. Let me put
Yeah.
my sales voice on when I'm not in that role at all. I'm trying to think.
Isn't that funny that like everything is sales
Oh my gosh.
though?
Yeah.
Whenever you talk, you're presenting yourself,
It's
even
either
if,
you're selling yourself, you're
yeah,
selling the company you work for,
yeah,
you're selling a product, whatever it is. I
yeah,
always wished that was another major like sales. I had some friends
yeah,
who were in a sales class at NC State,
yeah.
and they were like, on the first day the professor looked at them and said, stand up and in 1 minute sell yourself to all of us. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, no. No.
Please, no.
I was like, the biggest fear unlocked right there, because standing up and like, when you're not good at taking compliments,
Mm. Yeah.
you kind of really have to have, I don't want to say ego, but you have to
Yeah.
have a little bit to be able to stand there and be
Sure.
like, be boastful about yourself, that people believe
Mm.
it because you're trying to sell yourself.
Mm.
So they take that chance. It's like one
Mm.
of those where you're like,
Mm. I heard this phrase once that selling is helping.
ooh,
And if we can reframe maybe our
yeah,
idea of selling that's icky and like sleazy salesperson
yeah,
vibes to helping,
yeah,
we're helping them get something that will be of value
yeah,
to them, or we're helping refer them to someone
yeah,
that can help them. It's either way.
yeah,
The goal is not necessarily that we serve them, but that they're served.
yep,
And so if we don't have what they need,
yeah,
then we would be disingenuine to try to give them
yeah,
something that's not going to be of
absolutely.
great value to them. So then we need to refer them to someone
Yeah,
that does have something that can help them,
yeah,
right? And whenever we approach things that way,
yeah,
it makes it fun because
yes,
then we're just helping.
yeah,
We're helping them get something that will change their life, that will add immense value in one way or another,
yeah,
or help another person that's going to help them by referring.
yeah, yeah,
And stewarding that well,
yeah.
I think is what changed my mind personally about sales.
Interesting. Just a change of the word.
Yes,
Yeah.
selling is helping.
Yeah. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that take on that.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It changes how you approach it.
It does.
Yeah. Faith, my last question for you
No, no, not the last one. This has been so much fun.
is just, what inspires you?
Hmm. What inspires me is living a purposeful life
Mm.
that has lasting effect and eternal impact. When we live purpose-driven lives, the impact that we can make is far beyond ourselves, and so that's what inspires me and makes me excited to get
I love
up
that.
in the morning, is living aligned to my purpose
Yeah.
and the impact that can be had by doing that.
Yeah. I think impact for a lot of people, you hear it sometimes, the I want to leave something behind in
Mm-hmm.
this world.
Yeah.
And I think it's, if you've got that feeling you, there's so much that you're trying to do in this world to make it better. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's something you wake up every day and are so passionate about and ready to kind of take on the world wherever you're trying to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. and staying aligned to the call, because I think that's where the blessing is.
Yeah.
It's when we divert to something that we're not meant to,
Yeah.
we're called to, where we get distracted and
Yes.
the blessings and favor aren't there. So as long as we're serving people
Yeah.
and glorifying God is what I feel called to, then I feel like I'm doing my purpose
I love it.
and having fun with it.
I love it. I love it. Well, Faith, thank you so much for sitting down and taking the time with me today.
Thank you, Danielle.
I can't thank you enough, and I can't wait to see the growth of co-creators and what
Thank
you
you.
guys are cooking up there. I think this is such a beautiful platform, and I can't wait to see it grow this year.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. This has been fun.
Yes, I will have all of Faith's socials down below, as well as co-creators, so you guys can go give them a follow and stay tuned for everything they've got going on. But just as always, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.